right, I have plenty of crazy ex stories, but one that sort of takes the cake. And in this story, I don't know if the ex is crazy or I'm the crazy one. I think we both are a little bit. But so what happens is I'm a kid. This is 12 years ago. I'm 20 years old, playing house. I'm in college, and I'm living with my high school sweetheart. We're living together, and thinking we're all grown up, and but really we're just a couple of kids trying to figure stuff out, and we're nuts. We fight all the time. We don't have the emotional maturity to express how we really feel, and so we bury this in smoking a lot of weed and drinking a lot of alcohol and having fun a lot of times, but then having these explosive type of fights. And so we'd been together for several years at this point, and so this story takes place in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, in this tiny little town. The UP, as it's called, is a small place to begin with, and we're way the hell out there. And she followed me up there. I'm going to college, and she came from another town like 8 hours away. She moved up there with me and got a job at the Holiday Inn. And she's working the Holiday Inn night shift, and it's cool, it's good. And what happens is she has this manager who's a cool guy. She tells me about him when she gets home from work, and I'm like, yeah, sounds like a cool guy. And he's a little bit older, and it's all right. I kind of like met him in passing a handful of times, and but we never hung out, the three of us. So it was a little weird just kind of hearing these stories. And then one time my mom comes up to visit, and my girlfriend at the time, my ex and my mom don't really get along that well. So there's this like extra tension in the house, and we can't really full on fight like we normally do. We're having these like quiet under the breath fights, at night. And so one night the tension's too much, and she's like, look, I'm going to hang out with this guy. I don't even remember his name. Let's call him Jason. That might be right. And so she's going to hang out with him, and I'm like, well, I don't have anything to do. I'll come hang out too. And she's like, no, you're not invited to this. I'm like, what? Okay. So she goes to hang out with him, and at this point, I'm like, kind of suspicious stuff's going on. So it's getting later. I start, texting, hey, when are you going to be home? Calling, and the phone gets turned off. I'm just like, oh, crap, like, what does this mean? And it gets later and later, and now it's like midnight, 1 a.m., phone's turned off. I'm just like, what is going on? And I'm starting to go crazy in my head, and so, it's becoming 3 a.m., 4 a.m., she hasn't come home, she's not coming home, and I don't know what's going on. So dawn starts to appear, and this town is so small, and I'm so crazy and in my head that my big plan is I'm just going to walk every street until I find where she's at. She had taken our car, and so that's literally what I did. I start walking the streets of this town, Houghton, Michigan, and I'm walking, and just my head is getting crazier. And sure enough, I walk, and I see our car, our car, parked at this house. I'm like, holy shit, what do I do now? I hadn't really planned on finding this. So I approach the house. I peek in the windows. I walk around the entire house peeking in. And in Houghton, nobody locks their doors. So I go up to the house, and I open the door. And I walk throughout the house, room by room, opening doors. Oh, there's a sleeping roommate. Close the door. Oh, there's the laundry room. Close the door. Last room in the house. And and I know what I'm preparing to find, and I open the door, and there they are in bed together, naked. And I just scream, what the fuck? And she gets up and screams, get the fuck out of here. And I just remember these feelings of wanting to throw something or like knock all the shit off of his walls or whatever. But I don't. I storm out of the house, but on the way out, I close the storm door behind me loud and hard enough to shatter the glass as I leave the house. And, well... So I go on this long, crazy walk, go see like some school therapist. Like, I don't know if I'm like, dude, I don't know. You probably talk to the kids that are like suicidal. Like, this shit just happened. My mom's visiting. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm moving out today or whatever. And so this was this like crazy occurrence. But in the end, what ended up happening is that years later, I reflected on this relationship and I got sober and I worked a 12-step program of recovery, and through that, like, sort of saw that I had a big part in that, and that the ways that I were treating her and the expectations I had were unfair, and that she was a young girl placed in this position, you know, a long way from home in an emotionally abusive relationship with me, and you know, in the end, what I did was I made amends to her, and I actually went to that Holiday Inn and tried to find Jason to make amends to him for breaking his door, and I never did find him. But the good thing is that today, like, all is forgiven and all is well, and I've learned and grown through that experience. So that's all I got.